Are you picking up this very beautiful voice that I'm speaking with? You ever just wake up in the morning and feel amazing? That's how I woke up this morning. I just felt like, yes, yes, yes. Life is good. Music playing in the background. Feeling excited about things. And how fitting that I would feel that way on this chapter, chapter 26, entitled Celebrate It All. Ba, 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 ba. The all-inclusive approach to living. From the all-inclusive approach, the art of divine remembrance. Doesn't that sound nice? This is Suyana, author and narrator. And let's get right into this chapter, shall we? There is no aspect of your life at this moment that is not serving you. Nothing in your current experience is less valuable to your evolution than anything else. Everything is here to support you, inform you, and encourage you toward your fullest and highest expression. Aside from the surface level obligations of modern society, constantly evolving and changing as we do, there is no urgency for you to do or become anything. All of this is designed to help you move beyond the limitations and perceived obstacles of time, which is a side note is often related to our relationship to death and what happens after death. Food for thought. A sense of urgency doesn't serve your inner peace, well-being, or fulfillment, nor does it effectively motivate action for most people. Instead, urgency creates stress, which fosters fear. Fear, in turn, pushes us into frantic action or a state of shutdown. Neither of these states yields desirable results more often than not. Only fleeting relief. And who wants to live a life of relief? Don't we all want to live a life of fulfillment and thriving? And it's not relief from our evolutionary process, which is an eternal process, I think. But it's a temporary respite from our perception of reality. That's what we get. We get a break from our incessant perception and interpretation of what is and what is means. That's what we're getting relief from, which makes it feel even more fleeting in my mind when I'm seeking it. True evolution and progress arises from inspired action. And inspired action stems from a state of relaxation. True evolution and progress arises from inspired action, and inspired action stems from a state of relaxation, not a seeking of relief. It comes from releasing the things we cling to and attach meaning to, things that are impermanent and ever-changing. If you're feeling stressed, urgent, or fearful, your immediate goal is to relax. Unless you are in imminent danger, relaxation is the solution to most unpleasant and less than desirable states, emotional states. Relaxation becomes the desired outcome and the intention you set for yourself. When fear, urgency, and stress arises, relaxation is the highest and most beneficial goal you can attempt to achieve. The most beneficial way to achieve this relaxation is without external catalysts or stimulus. This may be more difficult at first, but it is something to aspire to be able to relax yourself without any external props. If you need those things to remind you what it feels like to be relaxed, to experience serenity, to be at peace, to feel grounded in yourself, then continue to use them with the intention of being able to achieve that state of being within yourself, as yourself, just you, your breath, and a willingness to ride the waves of resistance until you arrive at ease. Once relaxed, you can connect with your infinite nature. Your true essence is constant, an eternal process observing and experiencing existence. Everything else, circumstances, emotions, and even people will come and go. Sometimes transitions happen when you're ready for them, but more often they occur when you're not. This too supports your growth and evolution. The all-inclusive approach is a philosophy and lifestyle rooted in these truths. It offers a way of interacting with every moment of your life by tapping into the vibrational resonance of your energetic self. This perspective invites you to embrace your totality by cultivating openness to your individuality. It reminds us of the commitment we made upon incarnating, the commitment to embrace it all, no matter how unfair, unfortunate, unclear, or uncertain it may seem. We chose to come here to this physical realm to experience it all, not literally everything, but all the experiences uniquely designed for our individual journeys. Each of us contributes our own story to the collective consciousness. Inclusivity is our natural state of being. When we embrace inclusivity, we find relaxation in the unfolding of our experiences. Think about how delighted we are when we hear a hotel is all inclusive. Everything, drinks, meals, and amenities, is included up front in the price you agree to pay. You don't arrive only to discover hidden fees for meals or pool access. We consider these stipulations unfair in a world where transparency trumps fine print. Even if you're not a big swimmer or don't enjoy cocktails, you still appreciate the availability of these options and recognize the value they bring to other guests. So why do we take an exclusive approach to ourselves? Why do we resist the very things we've asked for by rejecting moments, circumstances, emotions, and people in our experience? Why do we limit the wisdom available in each moment by overlapping our beliefs and expectations about how things should be? Often we compound this resistance with self-condemnation for displaying less desirable attributes like judgment, reactivity, and resistance, creating a vicious cycle that feeds itself. Why? Why do we do this? We do this to highlight the discord within us. Whether witnessed internally or externally, this discord becomes the catalyst for maturing into the vibrational recipient of the creations we are destined to receive. If you believe in God as omnipresent, omnipotent, and omnipotent, why reject anything in your experience? Why say you trust God, but only when God shows up in ways that please you? How can you expect unconditional love and acceptance from a God you love conditionally and accept only when it pleases you? This again is not judgment, it's reflection, it's self-awareness. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at my life and seen circumstances as obstacles to what I wanted. For years as a single parent, I saw my son as the reason I wasn't in a new relationship, no matter how immature that thought process was. I didn't have the time, energy, or resources to go on dates with potential partners because I was the sole provider in my son's life. His father played a nearly insignificant role in his upbringing and daily needs. I defined myself by this role, a parent because I had a child, and single because I shouldered nearly all the responsibilities that came with parenting. My shame and resistance to these thoughts and feelings only fueled the resentment I felt for not having more of the support I desired to manifest. But I recently recalled a vision I had of another lifetime that illuminated why this might be part of my current circumstances and experience. In this vision, I was an Indian mother who had her child ripped from her arms. Cast out from her society, she was left childless, homeless, and disgraced. Whether or not she deserved this treatment was beyond my ability to decipher. But what I did experience in that moment was her profound loss. The immense pain and anguish of being separated from her child forever was a crippling sadness and despair I had never felt before. Reflecting on that lifetime recently, my perception of being a quote-unquote victim of single parenthood gave way to a new perspective. That this uninterrupted time with my son, free of additional relationships with men, could be seen as a healing balm for the pain my soul had endured in another incarnation. It reminded me, yet again, that even when I don't have the full script or understand the value behind my life circumstances, there is a purpose to all these dynamics. I can choose to accept that or not. In this instance, I found peace in realizing that while I may not have always appreciated this time together, I can be thankful for it now. I can treat these circumstances as the gifts they are rather than believing they are my personal failures or obstacles holding me back from something else I desire. Perhaps some of your current circumstances are also balancing past traumas or hardships. What are you willing to see as valuable that you've been condemning as unjust or limiting? You may feel a voice rising within, listing the atrocities of the world, sex trafficking, genocide, pollution, and more. That voice may warn you that acceptance doesn't solve everything, and that some things are just wrong, evil, bad, or useless. It may even grow skeptical of me for referring to these heinous acts as expressions of spirit. How could I include these aspects of our world? I assure you, I am speaking of these versions of God as well. Why does it sometimes take a cancer diagnosis to compel someone to make life changes they've long known were necessary? Why does losing wealth and resources awaken someone to their higher calling or to act with integrity? Why does child sex trafficking highlight and challenge our collective relationship with sexuality, objectification, equality, compassion, and body image? Why do abuse, neglect, and betrayal push someone to leave a relationship that no longer serves them? Why must oppression precede liberation? Why do we need dramatic wake-up calls to act, evolve, embrace, and embody our highest potential? These experiences are catalysts. They are the pressures and motivators we often require to wake up, to grow, to leap into the unknown, to surrender, and to choose love. These circumstances are not inherently bad. They are reconciliations of pain and unconsciousness brought to life. Evil, in essence, is unconsciousness. And what does unconsciousness require for transformation? Consciousness. Does this seem fair? No. Does it feel just? Absolutely not. I understand the instinct to judge heinous behavior harshly and wish for retribution. But the parts of us that is evolving needs these attachments to fairness and retribution to be challenged and unraveled. What does an eye for an eye mentality cause? Blind unconsciousness. The mind seeks fairness, logic, predictability, and dependability. But God invites us to bring the light of consciousness to what needs it most, the unconsciousness that gives rise to violence, oppression, exclusion, and domination. Consciousness expresses growth, expansion, and evolution by any means necessary. I continue using these words because they reflect the energetic foundation of all existence, birth, death, and rebirth, aka growth, expansion, and evolution, an endless cycle that persists forevermore. No one can escape it. The aspects of us that resist this infinite nature are eventually surrendered to the process of evolution. No matter how much resistance they offer, it is inevitable. While I used to believe a loving partner would validate me and ease the challenges of raising my son alone, I've since realized that perspective created resistance within me. In an effort to find a solution to my apparent problem, I was invalidating the perfection of divine manifestation. My seeking validation from a partner was invalidating the beauty of the support being offered by Source through this devoted time together with my boy. When I surrendered to the present moment, I saw the value in my current dynamic. I am being gifted a relationship to cherish right now, the relationship with my child. This is a bond others may never have or may tragically lose, and so The unconscious, rebellious, lonely girl within me matured into a confident, trusting woman who is present with what is and willing to let go of the fantasy of what was once wanted, befriending the ever-present companions of time and space, and the power available to co-create from a place of alignment, not demanding something different from a state of resistance. Why am I sharing all this with you? Because I am one of the countless reminders of your true nature. I'm not your teacher, I am your companion. I understand the pitfalls of this evolutionary journey, and I am here to remind you that we can navigate this shift with grace and awareness. Others have blessed me with similar reminders, and it's an honor to do the same for you. Reminders are everywhere. Once you begin to pay attention, Source is inclusive. You will see them. Your children, friends, lovers, thoughts, feelings, and parents are all reminders of what you truly are. Nature, birds, animals, signs, license plate numbers, all of them point to the inclusive oneness that is our true, natural reality. And you are a reminder to them. You are a fractal of the one, looking into the eyes of countless others. We all forgot, we all remember, again and again. The duration of our remembrance is closely tied to our sense of connection, gratitude, and openness. That's why entire bookstore sections are dedicated to gratitude, self-love, acceptance, forgiveness, and healing. These books are all reminders to embrace your inherent beauty as you are right now. Many of them frame the process as a project, but it is an unfolding. It is a process of remembrance. Exclusion shuts us down and creates separation, but even that eventually guides us back to wholeness. Inclusion, on the other hand, opens us up and fosters authentic expression as long as you don't apply it solely externally. Both paths ultimately lead us back to oneness. Doesn't that offer some level of comfort as we release the need for the world to be perfect before we can accept it and feel safe in the physical realm? All roads lead home. All roads lead home. It is important to remember that when I speak of inclusion, that includes you. Inclusion doesn't mean embracing everything external while rejecting or labeling your internal experience as impediments to your inclusive perspective. In this book, inclusion means welcoming your inner dialogue, emotional content, belief systems, and conditioning. The magic happens when you embrace everything you are, while simultaneously receiving external information as guideposts. These guideposts deepen your understanding of your inner landscape, cultivate a collaborative relationship with Source, as it is expressing through your unique awareness, and bring the light of consciousness to everything that arises within and around you. That is the inclusive approach I'm inviting you to implement. You are the central component and essential ingredient in your own unfoldment. I have found a way to integrate into a new world while still operating within the old paradigm. A world in which we consciously allow and participate in our unique evolution while sharing our specific gifts and talents. A world where individuals are encouraged to speak, act, and perceive in alignment with their inner truth, expressed through tolerance, self-awareness, compassion, love, curiosity, and empowerment. It's a world that honors the need for boundaries while offering compassion for those who lack the capacity to act consciously in any given moment. A world where societies and cultures embrace their differences and collaborate to create a thriving environment for all. A world where justice and accountability are grounded in wisdom and expressed through authentic power. It is a wondrous place to be, and so many of us are bridges between these two worlds. We return to the old paradigm to invite more individuals to join us in the new paradigm, and that cyclical process is also part of the inclusive approach. We can begin to embrace these ideas while navigating the evolutionary process of shedding the old paradigm to embody the new. We can allow the challenges, opportunities, and experiences in our personal lives to move us through this transition with ease and grace. We can do this by being inclusive, valuing the process, honoring our passions, and respecting our unique contribution to this evolving paradigm we call home. The process is called the all-inclusive approach because its premise is total acceptance of everything. For example, when you see news of a bombing, accept it. Accept the repulsion you feel, the pain and trauma of those affected, the rage that arises, and even the desire to distract yourself by turning the channel. Accept your judgments, hopelessness, and frustration. Accept that you are being lied to by the media and that you may not have the full story. Accept that it could happen again. Accept your feelings of helplessness or lack of desire to act. Accept that your contribution might be a prayer and that others may judge you for it. Accept the inner voice that says you should be doing more. Accept it all. Then make space for the lesson, the epiphany, the insight, and the peace that follows. Create an inner and outer space where conflict, fear, and resistance can arise, be fully felt, and ultimately released. By practicing total acceptance, you allow Source to express and expand in every way, including through you. This is the all-inclusive approach. Welcome to the new paradigm. It's important to note that inclusivity or being all in does not justify staying in an abusive environment. If you or someone else is experiencing abuse, the most inclusive and loving action is to find safety immediately. Inclusivity provides space for discernment as well as acceptance. In situations of abuse, the message is clear: remove yourself from harm's way. Spiritual concepts or philosophies should never be used to justify remaining in an unsafe environment for the sake of personal growth. True growth in such circumstances arises from prioritizing safety. Many of us drawn to material like this have endured abuse and mistreatment, whether mental, emotional, or physical, on our path to self-realization. I remember contemplating whether to stay in my marriage, thinking, well, he doesn't beat me yet. As if living in a constant state of high alert wasn't enough of a reason to leave. I never knew what might set him off, only that it could happen at any moment. His way of dissipating pain was through accusation, judgment, and criticism, usually followed by remorse and promises. This is the cycle of abuse. I could have stayed for years believing my task was to love him unconditionally, but where was the love for myself? Instead, I followed the advice of a mentor and tried an experiment. For 1 week, I adopted the mindset that I would do whatever it took to remain in the marriage and make it work. The following week, I lived with the mindset that I would do whatever it took to make it on my own and raise my son without my husband. The first week, I felt deeply depressed. At one point while driving, I had a fleeting thought even. If I wrecked the car and both my son and I died, at least I wouldn't leave him in a world without me to care for him. The second week brought a roller coaster of emotions, excitement, anticipation, conviction, but most of all, a sense of hope. My answer became clear: staying felt like death, leaving felt like life. So I left. I share this story to illustrate that the all-inclusive approach is not about blind acceptance of your current reality. And I'm not sharing it because he was a bad guy and I was the good guy. We were not compatible. Acceptance is part of the all-inclusive approach for sure, but only as a bridge to guide you toward the next chapter of your journey, a chapter that reveals deeper truths within you, steering you along your path. The solution my mind presented, staying, felt like an end, not a beginning. Even though I had no intention of acting on that dark thought that day, It illuminated the hopelessness I felt in those circumstances. The unknown of making my way as a single parent was far more life affirming than remaining in the known. Acceptance in this context wasn't about tolerating my situation, but about discerning the guidance that urged me toward a new path. Once I left my husband and became a single parent, another layer of conditioning surfaced. My inner peace was no longer disturbed by an oppressive partnership, but by my new challenges of single parenthood. I desired another relationship, but I had not yet matured beyond the dynamics that had attracted the previous one. Themes of disempowerment, codependency, and unworthiness played out again and again, each time through a different character, until I finally reached a space of inclusion. These patterns had existed long before my marriage and persisted long after my divorce. My ex-husband wasn't the villain in my story, he was just another growth opportunity. Inclusivity doesn't assign blame. It brings together complementary components to facilitate growth and expansion. Over time, I realized I could no longer blame anyone or anything. Instead, I chose to see every moment, circumstance, and dynamic as part of a broader theme, a theme that Source and my soul, which are really one and the same, had designed to evolve me into a higher expression, into my highest expression. By embracing inclusivity, I welcome these learning moments as contributions to the greater good. You too can embrace yourself in every external aspect as part of the grand design of evolution by adopting a perspective of inclusivity. This includes prioritizing your well-being, cultivating inner peace, and acknowledging the importance of environments that honor and nourish the consciousness within you. At the end of this chapter, I offer questions to contemplate, and they are as follows. What am I willing to accept as valuable that I have been condemning as unjust or limiting? Why do I require dramatic wake-up calls before I am willing to act, evolve, embrace, and embody? What did I know I needed to do or change, but waited until circumstances were dire before responding? What does it feel like to trust that you are moving forward in perfect harmony with divine timing? Can you accept that nothing has hindered your evolutionary process? And the final question, what does life require of me for transformation? Moving right into chapter 26's reflection and journal prompts in the workbook, we'll go ahead and just dive right in. So the reflection starts with, this chapter is the full expression of the all-inclusive approach. It's easy to celebrate the moments that feel expansive, joyful, aligned. It's far more challenging to embrace the uncomfortable, the inconvenient, the unfair, or the painful. Yet, true inclusion does not discriminate. To celebrate it all does not mean to approve of everything. It means to acknowledge that every experience, pleasant or painful, contributes to your awakening. Resistance delays integration, acceptance accelerates it. So you are not here to curate only the beautiful parts of life. You're here to embody consciousness within all of it. Celebration is not naivety, it's trust, matured. We are in a massive state of transformation, and transformation inherently is disruptive. Whether it's good disruptive or bad disruptive is really up to the person interpreting the experience. So I'm not inviting you to ignore the challenges that we face, the struggles that we are navigating, the uncertainty that we are mired in at this point. What this invitation is about is allowing all of those things to exist while simultaneously embracing everything that's going on within you. And then ultimately choosing your contribution, your orientation point, your interpretation consciously. And so that will foster reflections and contemplation around preconceived notions, entrained belief systems and conditioning, preferences, judgments, ways that you feel separated from your fellow man or from your environment, ways that you feel connected to your fellow man or your environment, and so on and so forth. We are in relationship with everything around us, and we get to determine and define what that relationship is for us from our perspective. That doesn't mean if you decide that you have a really healthy relationship with one of your parents, that it is actually a really healthy relationship. You can intend to have a healthy relationship with them, and if they don't want to participate in that, in the relationship that you share with them, then it's a prayer that you're holding. It's not indicative of the actual reality of the relationship. But that can give you clues as to what your hopes are, what your desires are, what your wants are, what your needs are. And that discovery process can give you clues as to where to put your energy. If you cannot accomplish that with a parent for whatever reason, then you look to other relationships and see, does this relationship exhibit my definition of healthy? How is it in alignment? Where is it discordant with those ideas? Are those ideas nourishing and realistic? Are they ways for me to feel safe and protected? The self-discovery and explorative process that is available to people who adopt the inclusive approach is rich with opportunity. And the foundation of that opportunity is to know yourself better, and by extension, to be able to express yourself more authentically in the world. And part of that contemplation can include journal prompts, reflective writing. So let's move into the journal prompts that are part of this chapter. I'll share those with you. Journal prompt number 1, the part of my life I'm currently resisting most is, and a follow-up question to that, what might this be strengthening within me? Number 2, when something feels unfair, I tend to, and the follow-up to that is, what belief about fairness might be influencing that reaction? Number 3, if I removed the label of good and bad from my current situation, I would see fill in the blank. Number 4, a challenge I once resisted that later revealed itself as a blessing was, and the follow-up question to that, what did it refine in me? And number 5, if I truly trusted that everything was unfolding for my growth, to my benefit, I would stop, fill in the blank, and I would start, fill in the blank. The exercise related to this chapter is called the Radical Inclusion Practice. For one full day, practice this phrase mentally whenever resistance arises. You can also speak it out loud. I accept this moment as it is. I accept this moment as it is. I accept myself as I am in this moment. I accept myself as I am in this moment. Notice traffic. Notice being interrupted. Notice uncomfortable emotions arising. Notice unexpected changes. Instead of immediately labeling it, breathe. Place your hand over your heart and say, this too belongs. At the end of the day, journal about this process. Did acceptance shift my emotional response? Did it make me more judgmental? Did it make me more agitated? Did it make me more confused? Did it make me feel empowered? Did it make me feel frustrated? Did it make me feel peaceful? Did any resistance within me soften as a result of doing this process? And what felt different about my energy engaging in this activity? You can include some affirmations for inclusion and trust. Here are some suggestions. Everything is here to help me. I embrace all aspects of myself and my journey. I trust that life is unfolding perfectly, even when I don't understand it. I am open to the lessons life is teaching me. Resistance only delays my growth. I choose acceptance instead. And as a side caveat to that, if you feel like that statement increases resistance, then you might be in a phase of integration, and that process lasts as long as it needs to. So there's no need to rush. It's just feedback. And if you're getting feedback from yourself, this is just enhancing a sense of resistance, and you can go into that resistance and implement the discovery process that's spoken about throughout this book, where you start to uncover where the resistance, where its roots are. The final affirmation: I celebrate every moment, knowing it is shaping me into my highest expression. That's one of my favorite ones. Just trusting that every step that I take is a step toward and into my highest expression. The contemplation for this chapter is: inclusivity is not about approving of everything. It is about recognizing that nothing is outside the design of your evolution. And your evolution is the evolution of consciousness itself.